Hi, I'm Karen. The Santa Fe Alliance for Science and the Santa Fe Animal Shelter are back with another digital learning video about dogs. Tom and Mary Beth, over to you.
Thanks, Karen. Now, I have a few questions for our school friends. If you were walking in a neighborhood park for the first time in 2 weeks, could you tell who walked in the park a week ago? Or could you tell who was not in the park 4 days ago? Or could you tell who was there for the very first time 2 days ago? No, you couldn't. But any dog would know all those answers. But how? Because all this information comes in through a dog's powerful nose and is sent to the brain. A dog's sense of smell is thousands of times better than our sense of smell. Think about that. Thousands of times better in ways we can't imagine. For example, when you see dogs walking through a neighborhood park, most dogs won't be looking ahead. They will have their noses to the ground, sniffing what is there today, as well as what was there 3 days ago and a week ago. Dogs experience the world primarily through their nose. Sure, they see and hear very well, but most of what they sense, learn, and understand about their environment comes through a nose that can only be described as miraculous. Mary Beth, what do you think?
Tom, this is a fascinating subject. As I think about it, you might say those dogs in that park are using their noses to read the newspaper. They find out what other animals were in the park, like a rabbit or a squirrel. They can tell if the rabbit was in the park last week, but not yesterday. They learn who is new in town. That includes other dogs and humans. Or they find out who hasn't been in the park recently. Again, that includes both dogs and humans. Another example, they discover that a specific dog was here yesterday, and they can tell if one of those dogs was not feeling well. Or they learn that two specific dogs got into a fight yesterday, and they know who won. For a dog, the nose for news goes on, and every fact is obtained through a nose that does incredible things. So how is this even possible? Let's watch a fun video that will explain why a dog's nose is thousands of times more sensitive than our own. Now, as you watch this, you may hear some words and terms that are not familiar. No problem. The story will still be clear to you, and we'll summarize them at the end so you can discuss the words or terms with your teacher or your parents later on. All right, let's take a look at why a dog's nose is such an amazing tool in helping them experience the world, a world we will never know.
Hi, Bob. Morning, Kelly. The tulips look great. Have you ever wondered how your dog experiences the world? Here's what she sees. Not terribly interesting. But what she smells, that's a totally different story. And it begins at her wonderfully developed nose. As your dog catches the first hints of fresh air, her nose's moist, spongy outside helps capture any scents the breeze carries. The ability to smell separately with each nostril, smelling in stereo, helps to determine the direction of the smell's source, so that within the first few moments of sniffing, the dog starts to become aware of not just what kinds of things are out there, but also where they're located. As air enters the nose, a small fold of tissue divides it into two separate folds, one for breathing and one just for smelling. This second airflow enters a region filled with highly specialized olfactory receptor cells, several hundred millions of them, compared to our 5 million. And unlike our clumsy way of breathing in and out through the same passage, dogs exhale through slits at the side of their nose, creating swirls of air that help draw in new odor molecules and allow odor concentration to build up over multiple sniffs. But all that impressive nasal architecture wouldn't be much help without something to process the loads of information the nose scoops up. And it turns out that the olfactory system, dedicated to processing smells, takes up many times more relative brain area in dogs than in humans. All of this allows dogs to distinguish and remember a staggering variety of specific scents at concentrations up to 100 million times less than what our noses can detect. If you can smell a spritz of perfume in a small room, a dog would have no trouble smelling it in an enclosed stadium and distinguishing its ingredients to boot. And everything in the street, every passing person or car, any contents of the neighbor's trash, each type of tree, and all the birds and insects in it, has a distinct odor profile telling your dog what it is, where it is, and which direction it's moving in. Besides being much more powerful than ours, a dog's sense of smell can pick up things that can't even be seen at all. A whole separate olfactory system, called the Vulmeronasal Organ, above the roof of the mouth, detects the hormones all animals, including humans, naturally release. It lets dogs identify potential mates or distinguish between friendly and hostile animals. It alerts them to our various emotional states, and it can even tell them when someone is pregnant or sick. Because olfaction is more primal than other senses, bypassing the thalamus to connect directly to the brain structures involving emotion and instinct, we might even say a dog's perception is more immediate and visceral than ours. But the most amazing thing about your dog's nose is that it can traverse time. The past appears in tracks left by passers-by and by the warmth of a recently parked car, or the residue of where you've been and what you've done recently. Landmarks like fire hydrants and trees are aromatic bulletin boards carrying messages of who's been by, what they've been eating, and how they're feeling. And the future is in the breeze, alerting them to something or someone approaching long before you see them. Where we see and hear something at a single moment, a dog smells an entire story from start to finish. In some of the best examples of canine-human collaboration, dogs help us by sharing and reacting to those stories. They can respond with kindness to people in distress or with aggression to threats, because stress and anger manifest as a cloud of hormones recognizable to the dog's nose. With the proper training, they can even alert us to invisible threats ranging from bombs to cancer. As it turns out, humanity's best friend is not one who experiences the same things we do, but one whose incredible nose reveals a whole other world beyond our eyes.
Wow, just think about this. If we go into a McDonald's, we smell hamburgers and French fries. If a dog went in, it would smell French fries, hamburgers, and every single ingredient in the Big Mac sauce. There are 25 different ingredients in the Big Mac sauce, and the dog can smell each one individually. Why? Because we have only 5 million scent sensors in our nose. A dog has 300 million. Compared to us, a dog's brain has much higher percentage of space totally devoted to the sense of smell.
I'm sure you all have heard of bomb and drug sniffing dogs, and dogs who can find a lost hiker or people missing in disaster areas. But did you know there are dogs that use their sense of smell to help humans medically? There are dogs that can detect cancer. There are also specially trained service dogs to help people with diabetes. How do they do this? Well, the dog's sense of smell can detect changes in body chemistry and let its diabetic owner know that their blood sugar level is not normal. The list of amazing abilities goes on and on.
So that's how dogs see the world, with their noses. Now, I know we gave you a lot of information, so let's review some of the new terms that we learned today. The first term was olfactory receptor cells. Now, olfactory has to do with the sense of smell, and receptor cells are cells that are able to receive signals. So olfactory receptor cells help us smell things. In the video, we saw that dogs have them too, but dogs have many more of them than us humans, and that's why their sense of smell is so much better than ours. Now let's talk about odor molecules. Now, what's a molecule? Well, anytime two atoms join together, they make a molecule. All the stuff around you is made up of molecules, and this includes you. You're actually made up of trillions and trillions of different types of molecules. Now, odors are also called smells or scents, and they're caused by groups of chemical molecules. Now, odors can be disgusting, like stinky shoes, or they can be very pleasant, like the way flowers smell or when a batch of chocolate chip cookies come out of the oven. Now, this next one is a little bit tricky to say. Now, we learned that dogs have something called a vulmeronasal organ. Now, remember your teachers told you that when you saw big words, it helps to break them down. So let's break this one down to help you pronounce it. The first part of it is vom. The second syllable is arrow. The third is nay. And the last part of the word is zul. Vulmeronasal. Vulmeronasal organ. Now, in the video, we learned that dogs have this organ inside their nasal passage, and that is what allows them to be so good at smelling those chemical compounds or odors. Now, the last term that I want to review with you is olfactory bulb. And there's that word again, olfactory. Remember, olfactory has to do with the sense of smell. So it makes sense that the olfactory bulb is the part of the brain that allows you to smell. It processes the loads of information that the nose scoops up. And here's where it's located in the dog's brain. So now you know some really cool scientific facts that explain why dogs see with their noses.
And we hope that we've left you with a sense of wonder about a dog's abilities. I know I'm amazed at what they can do just by sniffing. So the next time you walk your dog or observe other dogs in the park, think about what you learned today and how amazing all dogs are through their powerful sense of smell.
And again, my appreciation to Tom and Mary Beth for sharing all of this great information. Now, in our next session, we're going to give a little bit of time to the kitties. So if you love cats, please be sure to join us. And until then, remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and always be kind to the animals.